بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. I always think about what the community and what is most beneficial to talk about. And it occurred to my mind that for us to continue between the two Fatimiyas, the 75 and the 95, to continue to talk about Sayyeda Nisa al-Alameen, the best of the ladies of the world of creation, Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. And if you think about it, if God were to take away our lives right now and death were to approach us, who would you call? Many of you who have been in very dangerous places or dangerous scenarios, you know that you call Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. But from Ahlul Bayt and the family of the Prophet, there's a belief amongst our scholars from the traditions, from what they have read, that beseeching and doing tawassul to Sayyida Fatima alayhi salam is a different type of tawassul, because it's the tawassul and beseeching a mother. It's how we have in the traditions that on the Day of Judgment she does not enter heaven and asks about my Shia, asks about the Shia of my Shia. And she is informed that Allah has forgiven them because of Sayyida Fatima. Then that is what a mother does. She does not enter heaven without us. It wants to make sure that the followers of Ali Muhammad are guaranteed salvation on the Day of Judgment. So therefore tonight we want to focus about her life, as many try to make her disappear from history, from the books, because of the stance that she took, because directly she opposed the Khilafat system. And because of this direct opposition, which has been recorded in the books, even in books like Bukhari, even in historical books like Ansab al-Ashraf of Baladhuri, Tabari, others, you see the opposition of her. So she became, as how the poet said, the Dhul Faqar of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. And she took these people and destroyed their reputation. She became Shaheeda, but it was not in vain. If you think about those who opposed Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, she destroyed them. Because today you ask, how did you dare harm Fatima Zahra? How did you dare mistreat her and abuse her? The only living offspring of Rasulullah. His sons had died. His sons had died before, and some of the ulama believe that Rasulullah did not have any other daughters besides her. Sayyid Jafar Murtada Amali, this is his belief. But regardless, everyone says that after Rasulullah passed away, only one living offspring was there, and they'll say the Fatima. Why did they abuse her? Why did they mistreat her? Because of her stance. So tonight's discussion is about Sayyida Fatima alayhi salam, her love for humanity, and that a Muslim cannot be complete unless he has high regard to the creation of God. We do not have a religion where we only pray and make salat and fast and are oblivious and careless about what goes around us. Sayyida Fatima alayhi salam, in many parts of her different speeches, either khutbah fadakiyah or the khutbah, the sermon she gave to the ladies of Medina, and other statements that she had, she stood for the madloom, the oppressed. She cared about the people. And throughout her life, she was willing to sacrifice what she had herself for the truth. When you look at Islamic ethics and Islamic social behavior, there are some of our scholars mention four main parts of Islamic social behavior. One is the principle. We can derive four main principles. One is the principle of justice. In order for us to be able to treat one another ethically, we need to observe this principle. We need to be just. Just like how in Yasin community, we are fair with others, regardless of where they come from, regardless if they are from my city or not from my city. We have to treat everyone fairly. We have to treat everyone with most respect. Yes, some maybe get more respect than others, because Quran says, Inna akramakum indallah atqakum. The best of you, the most honored of you, in Allah's eyes, is the one who has the most taqwa, piety. So that's normal. That if somebody is, for example, a very pious person, you give him more respect, for example. That's part of Islamic ethical behavior. But what I'm talking about tonight is about justice, treating people fairly. And you see in the tradition from Sayyeda Fatima alayhi salam, that she talks about having peace, taskeen of the qalb, having as it says, al-adl taskeen al-qulub. Justice is from the peace and causes peace of the hearts. Did you ever, for example, have oppression happen to you yourself? Were you ever wronged? Did you ever get a ticket in somewhere where you shouldn't get a ticket? Were you ever, for example, abused, or were you mistreated? How bad did that feel, for example, to have your right taken away? Maybe in something as like someone cutting in front of you in line, for example. You hate it. You're infuriated until you get your rights back. It's something small, right? Imagine just getting a little parking ticket and you did nothing wrong. Something that small. You are upset. You don't have taskeen. You don't have tranquility until that right is taken back. Therefore, you understand the mazloom, the oppressed, that when all the rights are taken, there is no taskeen in their hearts. There's no tranquility in their hearts because you have taken the rights from them. Or you see, Sayyida Fatima alayhi salam, when it comes to social justice, we said the first principle is the principle of justice, Islamic ethical behavior. She speaks in Khutbah Fadakiyah, one of the great lectures recorded by Ibn Tayfur and Balaghat al-Nisa, Ma'ashir al-Muslimin al-Musra'a ila qil al-Batil. O people who rush towards uttering falsehood, al-Mughdiya ala al-Fi'l al-Qabih al-Khasir, and are indifferent to disgraceful and losing actions. She talks about two things in this khutbah, from my limited understanding and knowledge. One is she calls the people who rush towards falsehood. What is falsehood at that time? One of the instances is the Khilafat system compared to Imamat. She's witnessed to what happened in Qadir, what happened, so many traditions from the beginning of Rasulullah's mission about Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. She tells the people that you are rushing towards falsehood. Many times we ask ourselves, how come? And this is a very important question, as to why were people quiet after Rasulullah passed away? Why weren't they companions, for example? Why didn't they love Rasulullah? Didn't they perform jihad for Rasulullah, for example? Why was Medina quiet? Why was it when the khutbah of Fadak was delivered, nobody except a few stood up for her? A khutbah that has so many verses of the Holy Quran. Who's performing it? Sayyida Fatima alayhi salam. Why did they disregard her speech? Why was it that years later, maybe 20, 30 years later, another lady comes and gives a khutbah to attack Amir al-Mu'mineen, and thousands of people respond? One lady in Medina after Rasulullah, the daughter of Rasulullah, speaks to defend Amir al-Mu'mineen, nobody answers. 20, 30 years later, they come. This is not my saying, this is one of the ulama. He says that it is from, ta'ajjub, I am surprised. As to one lady speaks to defend Imam Ali, say the Fatima, nobody answers. Another lady speaks in the battle of Jamal, the camel, to attack Amir al-Mu'mineen, And thousands answer. تعجب. So they rush towards قيل الباطل. Today we see the same occurrence throughout the world, except alhamdulillah things are changing because we are understanding that common people are not tolerant of genocide and oppression anymore. If given the chance, unfortunately the world is not run by common people. The world is run by governments who are bought, purchased by other groups. But we see that they are trying to control the masses. قيل الباطل, if you turn on legacy media over and over, you see the way they present what is happening today in Gaza and Lebanon, for example, in the wrong way. And those that are simple, those that do not have awareness, those that don't have basira, they get misled. They don't know what's going on. 2. المغضية على الفعل القبيح الخاسر. Those who are indifferent and disgraceful and losing action. Some people, to answer this question as to why people did not respond to the call of Sayyeda Fatima alayhi salam, I compare it today to what is happening. Today we have innocents in Gaza being, you see the video of amputees, how many children have their legs and limbs amputated. Purpose starving people. Not starvation, they're being starved. And yet you see that nobody is basically doing anything except majority of those who are doing something are the followers of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. Because in our traditions, we have learned from Sayyida Fatima to fight against injustice. We learn in our traditions from Amir al-Mu'mineen to be against the dhalim and to be for the madloom, to be an awn of the madloom and to be a khasb to the dhalim. We learn from Imam Hussein alayhi salam that we have to fight against oppression. We have to fight against injustice. This is ingrained. This is our heritage. If somebody asks, why do you cry so much for Imam Hussein? We say it's like days like these, that you see the fruits of that Imam Hussein's alayhi salam's revolution is a university to learn, to become an insan, to be a human. So therefore, the issue of being quiet is also an issue today. When you look at majority of the world, the majority of Muslims, except for a few, again, they're quiet. So I compare this. If they ask me, how come people were quiet when Ali alayhi salam was set aside, when Sayyida Fatima was martyred, how can that be possible? They say, how is it possible today when you see genocide on your own phone and all these nations and about 1 billion Muslims are doing nothing? You see, today they're quiet, just like they were quiet 1400 years ago. It's very possible for Muslimin to be quiet when they see such oppression and injustice is how they took Sayyida Fatima. And we have traditions and books of history that they set her door on fire. They threatened the door. They came and attacked her house. So she's talking about to people that you are turning your heads away. Al-Mughdiya means to be indifferent. Al-Fi'l al-Qabih al-Khasir, to disgraceful and losing actions. I tell people over and over that when it comes to these situations that are tricky like this and you're wondering what to do, always fear Allah more than fearing the makhlooq and creation of Allah. If you are not for the madloom, if you're not for truth, then that bala and that calamity that Allah can make you face, you cannot run away from it. You can run away from people, hide from people, but you cannot run away from Allah's punishment. So therefore we ask ourselves, when she gives this speech about, turning your back against falsehood, that why are people in today, when we see such genocide happening, why are people so indifferent? We're relating Fatimiyya to what is happening today. I'm going to give you a few reasons why people are afraid, why people do not speak up, why people do not do anything. One is fear of repercussions. People are afraid they will do something to you. But the muwahhida, the monotheist, believes in Quran. Do you not believe in the verse, Alaysa Allah bikafin abda? Isn't Allah sufficient for you? What would happen if you truly meant this in your heart, that Allah suffices me? Allah is my protector. Allah will protect me. 2, social pressure and conformity. That people want to conform and become. They don't want to stick out. They don't want to stand out. They want an easy life. They want a convenient life. They want to conform. That's what convenience is. We have the tradition from Imam Baqir alayhi salam that the Imam teaches us, if you want to be at the high position of spirituality, how must you be? The tradition has, La takunu lana waliyan, you will not be a friend to us. You will not be a loyalist to us. لو اجتمع عليك أهل مصرك وقالوا إنك رجل السوء لم يحزنك ذلك. If your entire city comes to you and says, you're bad, you're terrible, and you are not upset as long as you're doing what is right. Imagine today the entire Los Angeles area comes to you and says, you are a bad person, you're wrong, what you're doing is absolutely wrong. You wouldn't be upset because you know what I am doing is with Quran and Sunnah. And then the tradition continues, says, لو قالوا إنك رجل صالح لم يسرك ذلك. If the entire city comes to you and tells you, you are a great person, we love you, for example, you're not happy. Because you are not happy with the creation, how the creation judges you. You are looking at how Allah judges you. I'm looking at Allah being my judge. So one of the problems, the second problem we have, is conforming to society, making it very convenient, trying to fit in to the culture of society. We should be influential. We should be helping society change. It is degrading, if you look in the last 20, 30, 40 years of morality, of how people dress, how people carry themselves, is degrading. Islam means islah also, means reformation. Our prophets came. Imam Hussein came and says, I want to do islah, I want to reform. Prophet Shu'aib came and says, I want to do islah. The prophets came to reform society, not to become whatever and do whatever society wants. And that is the main issue that we have, is that we want to conform. The third is lack of awareness and understanding. Sometimes we don't understand, and that is why justice is not upheld. If you look at the issue of Gaza, Palestine, it is a compilation of all the strife and struggle of all the oppressed throughout history. Everyone who has been oppressed, whether that is in North America, South America, Australia, Africa, Asia, wherever they're oppressed, and their land was taken away from them because of their skin color, because of their ethnicity, because of not having that power to defend themselves, they relate to Palestine because they look at it as the history of their own people. If you look and you want to explain Palestine, explain it to the oppressed. They quickly understand. The second issue about Palestine is that people look at it, it is a symbol of the future. Because as you see today, the ICC, for example, even though we don't necessarily agree with everything, the international courts do, but the ICC had a statement taking Netanyahu and saying that Netanyahu is a criminal, the international criminal court. Right? So therefore, you see that is one step, because the world, and him being, for example, banned in many different countries and nations, or even in some cities in the US so far, Dearborn, for example. But you see that the world is not cooperating and is not being able to tolerate oppression anymore. And as we said, the problem with the world, it is being run not by the people, by different individuals who say they represent the people, but they're not. So Palestine is also the future for all of those oppressed, for all of those who had taken their land, their rights away from them, that they understand that the world will no longer tolerate this, inshallah. And the fourth is apathy and indifference. We live in a selfish society. We live in a society where I think that if I'm going to be smart, it is to take care of me and my family first and, forget about others. If somebody has a problem, It's okay. I was explaining this in the other masjid. I was once in, in the park, and an ambulance crossed past, and it was very interesting for me because, I've been in an Islamic country for 20 years. I lived around 20 years in an Islamic country. Usually, not everyone, but the mu'mineen, when an ambulance crosses, usually the mu'mineen are making dua, saying, who is that? Whoever it is and is in the ambulance, may Allah inshallah give him shafa, may Allah give him cure because they're in the ambulance. But this person was saying, look, to, for example, child, maybe some are guilty of this. Look at the lights. Look at the lights of the ambulance. Whoa, that doesn't look nice. Look at the lights of there's a second ambulance. What would happen if one of our family members was in that ambulance? What if one of our dear friends was in that ambulance? So we live in a society that we are indifferent. We don't care as much for others because we learn that is your problem. That is your problem, not mine. That is your heart attack. That is your, for example, stroke. It is not my heart attack. It is not my stroke. I'm healthy right now, so therefore deal with it. I have to go to work. I have to go to this meeting or whatever. Deal with it. I don't have time. The fourth is being indifferent, and this promotes injustice, that you don't care for one another. You have your own schedule, you have your own work, you have your own income, so therefore, I don't need to help others. These are 4 parts that all of them need remedy in, and Islam has a solution to all of this. Inshallah, we can create a society where we separate ourselves from these. This, so far, was the first part of Sayyida Fatima's important stance against injustice, against oppression. And you see how beautifully she mentions in her khutbahs that why she's defending Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. وَمَا الَّذِي نَقِمُ مِنْ أَبِي الْحَسَنِ عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامِ نَقِمُ مِنْهُ وَاللَّهِ نَكِيرَ سَيْفِهِ وَقِلَّةِ مُبَالَاتِهِ بِحَتْفِهِ. What do you deny from Abu al-Hasan? Why don't you give him his rights? Why don't you give Ali alayhi salam his rights? Yes, they denied the beating of his swords. How much did he help you in the victories and defense of Islam? His carelessness about death, his deadly assaults, his anger for the sake of Allah. Then she says why she is striving so hard for wilayat. And this is a secret for us. Is it just a battle of politics and power? Or what would Amir al-Mu'minin, I want you to imagine this, what would happen to the world if Ali alayhi salam was believed and was submitted and followed as an infallible imam? We had throughout history followers of Amir al-Mu'minin. We had followers. Some historians say this, the majority of Imam Ali's followers maybe were just because he was the Khalifa of the time, especially when he was the 4th. His followers, majority of them, didn't follow him as the infallible, ma'soom imam that has to be obeyed. They followed him as, at that time, the most qualified. And he's a normal human being. And therefore, if he goes to fight with Muawiyah, he goes to other battles, he must be supported. But not in a way, what is the difference from these two? If one understands Imam Ali as a Khalifa, one understands Imam Ali as an Imam. What is the difference? If the Imam says go into the fire, that person has to. The person cannot question that Imam anymore because he believes he has knowledge from God. 2, he has been chosen from God. And 3, he's infallible. He doesn't make mistakes. So Sayyida Fatima is showing then in this khutbah that when I stand and I give my life for the wilayah of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam, it is for you to be able to become guided and for you to be able to, as she says very beautifully, for him to lead you to a fresh flowing fount and return them in satiety while he himself will not profit from anything. So therefore, she is saying that he would guide you in becoming full. He would guide you in getting the barakat of the world. He would make and do what the Imam of the age will do. What would the Imam of the age do? Fill the world with justice, equality, tawheed. There won't be any more poor people in the world. There won't be any more injustice in the world. Imam Ali would have done the same thing from the beginning. Why do we say we have to wait for the Imam of the age to do it? Each Imam had the capability of making the world a monotheistic world, making the world a place of worship and kindness and justice. So therefore we see Quran says, وَلَوْ أَنَّ أَهْلَ الْقُرَىٰ آمَنُوا وَاتَّقَوْا لَفَتَحْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ بَرَكَاتٍ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ وَالْأَرْضِ. And if the people of Qura or Ahl al-Qura, if only the people of the cities had believed and feared Allah, they would have opened the blessings of the heaven and the earth. They would have barakat. How Imam Mahdi Ajalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif, they say during his time people will look for zakat, they don't know, or sadaqah, who to give it to, because nobody needs sadaqah during that time. There'll be no fear during that time. Even the smallest amount of oppression will not exist during that time. So what Sayyida Fatima alayhi salam is giving her life for is the wilayat of Imam Ali that will guide society, the people of Medina, and Imam Ali could have conquered the entire world. It made everybody a monotheist, made everybody, rectified them, transformed them into complete moral human beings. She's telling them what you have missed out. What you have missed out. Every Imam has this capability. The second issue that I want to talk about, so we said there are 4 principles of social ethics in Islam. One is justice. If there's no justice, there's no taskeen, there's no tranquility. 2, there has to be kindness, the principle of kindness. Justice means to put everything in the right place, to be fair to everyone, give them their rights. But there are those in society who need extra help. For example, when it comes to the elderly, Imam Ali alayhi salam talked about giving a wage, a salary to that old person, because he mentioned when he was young, he would benefit society by his work. Now that he's old, he cannot have that energy, that capability to benefit people. The government should take care of him. Have social security for those that are old, because when he was young, he was working. Now he cannot work anymore. So therefore, there needs to be the principle of kindness, that there are those in society who need extra help, and we have to respect them. And this is the second part of Sayyida Fatima's life that I want to share with you. The first part was about justice. The second part is about the kindness of Sayyida Fatima. To share this, I'm going to share a story, but it's going to be expensive for you. You have to recite a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Not expensive for you, but very valuable for me. Again, don't do anything for free. I always get salawats when you do it. Try another one, inshallah. It's important to know when you hear a story, hadith, know the source of it. Get familiar with the books. Don't just say this is in Bihar, this is in Wasail al-Shia, for example. Look at what book it's from. Maybe sometimes I quote Bihar or other books. Don't use that against me, but that's the source I find at that time. But usually, you should try to find the original source. One of the books that has been respected from our ulama has been Bisharatul Mustafa. It is a very old book. It is a book from about 500 in the lunar calendar, around 500 after Hijrah, and about 1100 is the common era, that is the calendar that book was published by Muhammad ibn Ali at-Tabari, who through a medium was one of the students of Shaykh Tusi, through a student. Some consider him a student of Shaykh Tusi, and has some of the views of Shaykh Tusi, Shaykh al-Ta'ifa, from a medium. And he had, other students, pupils like Qutb Din al-Rawandi, one of the great, narrators, was one of his students. So this is an old book. They say this book is a reliable book from the Shia scholars. It has the sanad in it, sanad, and it's a tradition about a person who comes. So it's from, Abdullah, the son of Ja'far ibn Muhammad, narrated from his father. From Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari, who said once, the Messenger of Allah led us to Asr prayer. After completing the prayer, he was towards the Qibla. He saw a person, an elderly man from the Arab migrants, approached. He was wearing, tattered, worn out clothes, could barely walk. So the messenger comes to him and asks him about his condition. This person, interesting in this story, we said that kindness. Rasulullah comes to him. Doesn't wait for this person to come to Rasulullah. Comes to him and asks. The elderly man said, he asked about his condition. The elderly man said, "O Prophet, my stomach aches." He's hungry. "My stomach aches with hunger, feed me. My body is bare, clothe me. I am poor, provide for me." So he's a poor person. The Prophet replied that, "I have nothing to give to you," but he gives him an address. "Ma ajid laka shay'an walakin ad-dal ala al-khair kafa'ile." I cannot give you anything, but that person who guides you towards goodness, khair, is as if they have done that good. So I tell you, intaliq ila manzila man yuhibbu Allah wa rasuluhu wa yuhibbuhu Allah wa rasuluhu. Yu'thar Allah ala nafsih. So I tell you to go towards a person who loves Allah and His Messenger and whom Allah and His Messenger love. Who do you think it is? They prioritize others over themselves. Intaliq ila hajratil Fatima. Hujratil Fatima. Go towards the house of Fatima alayhi salam. She loves Allah. Allah loves her. And the Messenger loves her. And she prioritizes others than herself. She is the one that Imam Hassan says, Al-jar thumma ad-dar. First neighbors, then ourselves. So he goes to the house, and to find the address of this house, he goes with Bilal. Bilal leads him the way, take him to Fatima's house. He goes, and this elderly person approaches this house, saying, "Peace be upon you, O household of the Prophet, prophethood, the place where the angels descend, and the station of Jibreel, the trustworthy spirit, who brings revelation from the Lord of the world." This is a holy place, he understands. This is the house of Sayyeda Fatima. So interesting that this person that just came in town so fast understood the respect of this house, but the migrants and those that lived in Medina many years afterwards would attack this house and set it on fire. So it says, Fatima, peace be upon her, replied, "Peace be upon you. Who are you?" The man says, "I am an elderly man, an Arab, a Bedouin, an Arab, who has come to your father, the master of humanity, to ask for help." At that time, Sayyida Fatima, this tradition, again, Basharatul Mustafa, Muhammad ibn Ali al-Tabari, old book, student of Shaykh Tusi, narrates that Sayyida Fatima had not eaten for 3 days. And Imam Ali did not eat for 3 days, and Rasulullah didn't eat for 3 days. This is the situation. I don't know if anybody here that has happened, but imagine just you're fasting, you have iftar, and someone just wants to take your iftar and give you your iftar. It's so hard to do that if that's all you're going to eat. So after 3 days of not eating, she looks and she gives a tanned sheepskin. She didn't have food, but she still had something in the house. She gives a tanned sheepskin that belonged to Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein alayhi salam as bedding. They would sleep on it, the bed of Imam Hassan and Hussein. She gives this to him. But the man says, "O daughter of Muhammad, I complain to you of hunger, and you give me a sheepskin. He needs more." So there she takes off the necklace that she has from her neck. It was a gift from her uncle Hamza. Imagine Hamza gives her something. Maybe he's Shaheed at that time or not, but Hamza, maybe he was. Give her a gift, and she gives this and says, "Take this and sell it." So the man gets what? A sheepskin and gets a necklace and leaves. At that time, he goes back, and Rasulullah inquires, "What happened?" And he is informed that, the man comes and says that your daughter gave me this necklace. And Rasulullah begins to cry and wept and says that, how can Allah not provide for you when Fatima, the leader of the women of the world, has given this to you? That time, Ammar ibn Yasir sees this. And how, you see how beautiful Rasulullah himself is, how his daughter is, and how his companions and true companions are. Ammar ibn Yasir, you know, Ammar is a great person. Ammar was martyred in the Battle of Siffin at what age? Around 90 years. You know how heavy swords are, how hard it is to go to battle. He was shaheed in the Battle of Siffin at the age of 90-something, Ammar. So Ammar sees this Sayyida Fatima give away her own necklace. He says, I will purchase this from you. What do you want? The man mentions that he wants, a meal. He's very hungry. Some people, they're very simple. He says, I'm just hungry. So he just thinks about food. He says, I want a meal of bread and meat. He wants some meat. Obviously, he wasn't a vegetarian. He was a vegan. A Yemeni cloak to cover my body, to pray in. A single dinar to reach my family. Something very simple. Ammar gives him 20 dinars, 200 silver dirhams, a Yemeni cloak, and he says here, and other things possibly, and a meal of wheat, bread, and meat. So therefore, Ammar purchases the necklace. And then he brings the necklace. He first gets permission from Rasulullah to purchase it. He purchases this necklace. Then he says, are you, satisfied? He says, yes. Then the Prophet mentions that Allah has granted Fatima in this world, talks about her. And then Ammar takes the necklace, perfumes it with musk, wraps it in a Yemeni cloak, and then tells his servant, see Ammar generous, yes, he takes the necklace, perfumes it, puts it in a cloth, and gives it to his servant, says to take this back to Sayyida Fatima, and tells him that now you are freed as well. When this reaches you, because you're holding the necklace of Sayyida Fatima, you're freed as well. So now the servant brings back the necklace, but is smiling and laughing. The servant of Ammar is smiling and laughing. She asks, why are you laughing? He says, because the immense blessings of this necklace. What did this necklace do? It satisfied a hungry man. It clothed a barren man, enriched a poor man, and freed a slave and returned it to its owner. So therefore you see the barakat of Sayyida Fatima alayhi salam, one necklace of her does this to the universe. What would her blessings and her inayat and awareness do to us as followers of her children, and her Shia? So therefore you see that the second principle is the principle of kindness. And you see that this sacrifice, this is beyond actually kindness. This is sacrifice, which is different than just kindness. Sacrifice means that there's only one thing. You have to be able to give it. If I'm going to be kind to everyone, I can share my meal, for example, or I have water, I would give everyone water. That's being kind. But sacrifice means I became thirsty and I give you my own water. So this is the second principle of human ethics. The third is to prioritize spirituality over the material. And the fourth is that there, a special relationship between, special groups of people that sometimes the closest to us in family, they have more, priority towards us than those that are far away. Those that are closer, live in our own city, they have more priority towards us than others. So hopefully we can learn from Sayyida Fatima these two principles of social ethics. One is the principle of justice, and the second is the principle of kindness. Inshallah, we can form such a community that represents both of these, inshallah. May Allah give us, inshallah, the ziyarat of Sayyida Fatima, inshallah. Give us the shafa'at of Sayyida Fatima, alayhi salam. Help all of those oppressed around the world. Give victory to those who are fighting against oppression. Answer all of the du'as that you have. Cure all of those that are sick around the world, and make us of the loyalists and friends of the Imam of the age, and expedite his return with a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.